The shattered glass scattered across the hardwood floor like frozen stars. James Chen looked up from the half-wrapped Lego set in his hands, his breath catching in his chest. The window beside the cabin's front door hung open, splintered wood clinging to bent hinges. Cold December wind rushed through the gap, carrying with it the scent of pine and something else. Something animal. A low whimper echoed from the entryway. James set down the wrapping paper and moved toward the sound, his socks sliding on the polished floor. The cabin's warm glow from the fireplace barely reached the dark hallway. His wife Sarah appeared at his shoulder, her fingers tightening on his arm. "What was that?" she whispered. Before James could answer, a massive form stepped into the light. Ice crystals clung to thick gray and white fur. Blue eyes, bright as glacier water, fixed on them. The dog's chest heaved, breath coming in short bursts that clouded the air. Snow melted in pools around its enormous paws, but it was what hung from the husky's jaws that made Sarah gasp. A small pink mitten, faded, worn at the thumb. Emma's mitten. The dog dropped it at their feet and sat, its tail sweeping the floor once. Then it tilted its head back and howled. The sound cut through the cabin walls, through the Christmas carols playing softly from the speaker, through James's racing thoughts. It was not the howl of a lost animal. It was a summons. James's hands moved to his pockets before his brain could catch up. Keys, phone, wallet, all there on the coffee table where he'd tossed them after unpacking. His phone. He needed his phone. "Emma," Sarah breathed. She spun toward the stairs, her footsteps thundering on the wooden steps. "Emma! Baby, where are you?" James already knew. The Christmas Eve surprise they'd planned. The remote cabin in the Montana wilderness, 50 miles from the nearest town. Emma building a snowman while they unloaded the car. Emma laughing as she chased a rabbit towards the tree line. Emma calling that she'd be right back. She just wanted to see where the bunny lived. That had been 2 hours ago. Maybe 3. Sarah's scream confirmed it. "She's not here! James, she's not in her bed!" The husky stood and walked to the broken window. It looked back at them, waiting. James grabbed his phone from the table with shaking fingers. No signal. The cabin's landline. Where was the landline? He scanned the living room, spotted the old rotary phone on the kitchen wall. His feet carried him there while his hands fumbled with the receiver. 911. Flathead County Emergency Services. What is your emergency? My daughter. The words came out broken. My 3-year-old daughter. She's missing in the woods. We're at a cabin off Route 83, mile marker 42. She's been gone for hours. It's below freezing. Please, you have to send someone. The dispatcher's voice remained calm, professional. Sir, I need you to stay on the line. How long has your daughter been missing? 2 hours, maybe 3. I don't know. We were unpacking Christmas presents and she was playing outside. We thought she was right there, right outside the window. Sarah appeared beside him, her face drained of color. She held Emma's stuffed rabbit, the one their daughter never slept without. James, her coat is still here, her boots. She's out there in her sweater. The husky howled again from the entryway. Sir, the dispatcher said, search and rescue is being dispatched to your location. It will take them approximately 45 minutes to reach you. I need you to remain at the cabin and keep your phone available. Do not attempt to search for your daughter yourself. The conditions are dangerous and we don't want to have to rescue you as well. James looked at the husky. The dog's eyes held something he couldn't name. Not wildness, intelligence, purpose. There's a dog here, James said. A husky. It broke into our cabin and brought us Emma's mitten. I think it knows where she is. A pause on the line. Sir, please remain at the cabin. The animal may be dangerous. The husky turned and jumped through the broken window, landing in the snow outside. It looked back once more, its blue eyes catching the firelight. Then it vanished into the darkness between the trees. "I'm going after it," James said. "Sir, I strongly advise against that action. Write down my number. Tell search and rescue to follow our tracks. We're heading northwest from the cabin." James hung up before the dispatcher could argue. Sarah was already pulling on her winter coat. She shoved James's parka at him. "Go. I'll wait here in case she comes back. I'll call if anything changes." "Sarah!" "Go." Her voice cracked. "Find our baby." James yanked on his boots and grabbed the flashlight from the hook by the door. The Husky's paw prints led away from the cabin, deep impressions in the fresh powder. He followed them, his flashlight beam cutting through the night. The temperature had to be in the teens. Maybe lower. Emma was wearing a sweater, just a sweater. How long could a 3-year-old survive in this cold? The Husky appeared ahead of him, a gray shadow against white snow. It waited until James got within 20 feet, then bounded forward again, leading him. James's lungs burned with each breath of frozen air. His flashlight caught nothing but endless trees and snow. No small footprints, no pink jacket, nothing but the Husky's tracks. "Please," he whispered to the dog, to God, to anyone listening, "please let her be alive." The forest swallowed them both. 3 miles southeast, tucked under a massive Douglas fir, Emma Chen shivered. She couldn't remember where her mittens had gone. One was still on her hand, but the other had fallen off somewhere. Her fingers felt funny. Not cold anymore. Just heavy. Like they belonged to someone else. The bunny had run so fast, she'd wanted to catch it, to show Mama and Daddy how soft it was. But the bunny kept going deeper and deeper into the trees. Then the bunny was gone, and Emma didn't know which way was home. She'd called for Daddy, screamed for Mama, but only the wind answered. The trees looked the same in every direction. The snow had started falling harder, making everything white and confusing. Emma's legs had gotten so tired. The sweater Grandma knitted wasn't warm anymore. She'd found this tree with the big roots and crawled underneath, pulling dead branches and pine needles over herself, like Daddy did when they played hide and seek. But Daddy wasn't finding her. Emma's eyes drooped. She was so sleepy. Maybe if she slept for just a little bit, Daddy would find her when she woke up. A twig snapped nearby. Emma's eyes flew open. A big dog stood at the edge of the tree roots, snow covering its back. It had blue eyes that glowed in the darkness. Emma loved dogs. Mrs. Patterson next door had a dog named Biscuit, who let Emma pet him. "Hi, doggy," Emma whispered. Her voice sounded strange. Too quiet. "I'm lost." The Husky moved closer. Its breath made clouds in the air. It sniffed Emma's face, her hands, her sweater. Then it did something Emma didn't expect. It laid down beside her. The dog's body pressed against hers, warm and solid. Its thick fur blocked the wind. Emma's fingers found the soft undercoat, and she buried her face against the Husky's neck. The dog smelled like snow and pine and something wild. It made a low rumbling sound, not quite a growl, more like a purr. "Good doggy," Emma breathed. The Husky's warmth seeped into her frozen limbs. The shivering that had racked her body for the past hour began to ease. The dog shifted, covering more of her with its body. Its tail curled around to cover her exposed feet. Emma's eyes closed. The dog's steady heartbeat thrummed against her chest. She didn't see the Husky's head lift, didn't hear its soft whine as it tested the air, didn't notice when it carefully pulled away and stood, pacing in a tight circle around her before making a decision. The Husky grabbed the pink mitten that had fallen from Emma's hand. It held the fabric gently between its teeth, careful not to tear it. Then it looked back at the small bundle of girl and branches one more time before racing through the forest. It knew where the cabin was, had smelled the wood smoke and cooking food for hours, had circled the structure 3 times, watching through the windows as the adults moved inside. Safe. Warm. Unaware their pup had wandered into the wilderness. The Husky had been a sled dog once, 2 years ago. Had lived in a kennel in Alaska with 20 other dogs, pulling tourists through pristine snow. The owner had been kind, but business came first. When the Husky injured its shoulder mid-season, unable to pull the sled properly, the owner had tried to rehome it, tried to find it a good family. But the families wanted puppies, wanted dogs that hadn't spent 3 years living half wild. The Husky had escaped from the rescue shelter 6 months ago, living in the forest ever since, hunting rabbits and squirrels, sleeping in abandoned dens, surviving. It understood cold, understood survival, and it understood that the small human under the tree would not survive the night without help. The cabin glowed ahead. The Husky didn't slow down. It had broken through worse than a window to get to shelter during storms. The glass shattered easily. The male human's scent was strongest, the one who had been outside with the small one earlier. The Husky dropped the mitten at his feet and howled. The humans needed to understand. Their pup was in danger. When the male grabbed his communication device and the female ran upstairs, the Husky knew they finally understood. It led the male into the forest, stopping frequently to ensure he could keep up. Humans were slow. So slow. But the male's desperation kept him moving, stumbling through snow that reached his knees. The Husky could smell the small one. Even through the snow and wind, that scent of innocence and trust pulled it forward. The scent was growing fainter, colder. The Husky increased its pace. James's legs screamed. He'd lost track of how long they'd been walking. 20 minutes? 40? The cold had penetrated his coat, finding every gap, every seam. His hands were numb despite the gloves. His face felt like ice. But he couldn't think about that, could only follow the Husky's gray form ahead of him. The terrain grew steeper. James's boots slipped on hidden ice beneath the snow. He caught himself on a tree trunk, bark scraping his palm through his glove. The Husky paused, looking back, ensuring James could keep up. The dog's patience was remarkable. It could have raced ahead at full speed, but it adjusted its pace, waiting whenever James fell too far behind. A branch snapped under James's foot. The sound echoed through the forest like a gunshot. He looked down and saw his boot had broken through a rotted log hidden beneath the snow. His leg sank to the knee. Pain shot up his shin. He pulled himself free, testing the ankle, sore but functional. He had to keep moving. The Husky whined, an urgent sound. "I'm coming," James panted. "I'm coming." The forest grew denser. Trees crowded closer together, their branches forming a canopy that blocked what little moonlight filtered through. James's flashlight beam was the only source of illumination. It caught the Husky's reflective eyes every few seconds. 2 blue beacons in the darkness. Then the ground disappeared. James's foot found nothing but air. He windmilled his arms, trying to catch his balance, but gravity won. He tumbled down a slope, snow and ice cascading around him. His flashlight flew from his grip, the beam spinning wildly before going dark. He crashed into something solid at the bottom. A boulder. The impact knocked the wind from his lungs. For a moment, James lay there, gasping. Pain radiated from his ribs. His right shoulder throbbed. Above him, he heard the Husky's distressed howl. "I'm okay," James called up, though he wasn't sure if that was true. "I'm okay." The Husky appeared at the top of the slope, its silhouette stark against the slightly lighter sky. It paced back and forth, whining. Then it began picking its way down the slope, moving with the sure-footed grace of a mountain goat. When it reached James, it pressed its cold nose against his face, sniffing, checking. "Emma," James said, pushing himself to his knees. "We have to find Emma." His flashlight lay 10 feet away, half buried in snow. He crawled to it and pressed the button. Nothing. He shook it. The light flickered once and died. Total darkness. James's breath came fast and shallow. He was lost. Injured. Without light. How was he supposed to find Emma when he couldn't even see 3 feet in front of him? The husky pressed against his leg, solid and warm. It stepped forward, then looked back at James. Waiting. "You want me to follow you?" It wasn't a question. The dog moved forward. James reached out and found its back. His fingers tangled in the thick fur. The husky didn't pull away. Instead, it walked slowly, carefully, leading James through the darkness by feel alone. They climbed out of the ravine together. The husky would stop at obstacles, letting James feel around them before continuing. When they reached level ground again, James could see slightly better. His eyes had adjusted to the darkness, finding shapes in shadows. But the cold was getting worse. James's wet clothes clung to his skin, sucking heat from his body. His teeth chattered so hard he bit his tongue. Blood, coppery and warm, filled his mouth. How long had Emma been out here? 4 hours now? 5? Her small body would lose heat so much faster than his. If she was still alive? No, he couldn't think like that. She was alive. She had to be alive. The husky stopped suddenly, its body going rigid. It lifted its muzzle and sniffed the air. Then it bounded to the right, disappearing behind a massive Douglas fir. James crashed through the underbrush after it. Branches slapped his face. Snow fell from overhead, cascading down his neck. His flashlight beam swung wildly. Then he saw it. Pink fabric. Small. Barely visible beneath a pile of branches and pine needles. "Emma!" James dropped to his knees and pulled away the debris with frantic hands. His daughter lay curled beneath the tree roots, her eyes closed, her lips tinged blue. The husky stood beside her, its muzzle pressed against her neck. Oh God, baby, please!" James touched Emma's face. Cold. So cold. But her chest moved. Shallow. Too shallow. But moving. He pulled off his coat and wrapped it around her tiny body, lifting her against his chest. She weighed nothing. Just a small, frozen bundle of his entire world. His flashlight clattered to the snow as he cradled her with both arms. "Emma, baby, wake up! Wake up for Daddy!" Emma's eyelids fluttered. "Doggy," she whispered. The word was barely audible. Relief flooded through James so intensely his knees nearly buckled. "Yes, baby. The doggy found you. You're safe now." The husky pressed against his leg, looking up at him. James had no free hand to touch it, but he met those blue eyes. "Thank you," he said. "Thank you." The dog howled once, high and piercing, then it turned and started back the way they'd come, moving slower now. James followed, each step measured carefully to avoid jostling Emma. The cold didn't matter anymore. The exhaustion didn't matter. His daughter's faint heartbeat against his chest was the only thing that existed. But Emma's breathing was getting worse, more shallow, more irregular. Her skin felt colder instead of warmer, despite his coat. "Stay with me, baby girl. Just stay with me. We're almost home." The husky stopped again and howled. The sound echoed through the trees, bouncing off the mountains. James didn't understand why until he heard voices. "Over here! I heard something over here!" Flashlight beams cut through the darkness. Red coats appeared between the trees. Search and rescue. They'd made better time than the dispatcher estimated. "Thank God." "I've got her," James shouted. "My daughter. She's hypothermic." 3 rescuers reached them within seconds. A woman with cropped gray hair took Emma from James's arms with practiced gentleness. She called out numbers that meant nothing to James. Core temperature, respiratory rate, pupils responsive but sluggish. Another rescuer wrapped a metallic emergency blanket around Emma. The third radioed for the helicopter. "We have the child. 3 years old, female, severe hypothermia. Requesting immediate medevac to Kalispell Regional. Over." The gray-haired woman looked at James. "How long was she out here?" 3 hours, maybe 4. I don't know." James's voice cracked. "Is she going to be okay?" "We need to get her core temperature up, fast." The woman's hands moved efficiently, checking Emma's pulse, her breathing, the color of her skin beneath her nails. "Her body's shutting down. She's in the moderate to severe range." Emma's eyes opened briefly. "Daddy?" "I'm right here, baby, right here. Doggy saved me." The rescuers exchanged glances. James turned to point at the Husky, but the dog had vanished. Only its paw prints remained, leading back into the darkness. "A Husky found her," James said. "It came to our cabin and brought me her Mitten, led me right to her. It was lying with her when I got there, keeping her warm." The gray-haired woman nodded, unsurprised. "Huskies have incredible survival instincts. Probably a stray that's been living out here. If it was warming her body, that might be why she's still alive." The helicopter's distant whir grew louder. Emma's eyes closed again, her small body limp in the rescuer's arms. "The dog saved her life," James whispered. The helicopter ride to Kalispell Regional Medical Center took 15 minutes. It felt like hours. James sat beside the medic who worked on Emma, watching her small chest rise and fall beneath the heated blankets they'd wrapped her in. Sarah had been picked up at the cabin by another search and rescue team and was meeting them at the hospital. "Talk to her," the medic said. "Let her hear your voice." James took Emma's tiny hand in his, careful of the IV line taped to her wrist. "Hey, baby girl. Remember last Christmas when you wanted to see Santa's reindeer, and we went to that farm, but the reindeer just wanted to eat and wouldn't come close? You were so sad." Emma's fingers twitched in his palm. "Well, guess what? I think we saw a real Santa's helper tonight, that doggy that found you. I bet Santa sent him to watch over you, because tomorrow's Christmas, and Santa knew you needed help." Emma's eyelids fluttered. "Santa's doggy?" "That's right, Santa's special doggy." The medic checked Emma's temperature again. "Core temp's up to 92.5. That's good progress. She's a fighter." James watched the numbers on the monitor beside Emma's gurney. Heart rate, oxygen saturation, blood pressure. They meant nothing to him, but he memorized them anyway, as if holding those numbers in his mind could keep his daughter tethered to life. "How bad is it?" James asked quietly. "Really?" The medic met his eyes. "She was heading toward severe hypothermia when we reached her. Another hour, maybe 2, and her organs would have started shutting down. But she's responding to treatment. That's what matters now." "The dog," James said. "It was lying with her, keeping her warm. That probably saved her life. Body heat transfer is one of the most effective treatments for hypothermia in the field. That dog knew exactly what to do." The medic smiled. "Almost there," she said to James. Then, to Emma, "You're going to be just fine, sweetie. The doctors are going to make you all warm again." The helicopter touched down on the hospital's rooftop pad. The doors burst open, and Emma was transferred to a gurney. James ran alongside it as they wheeled her through automatic doors, down a white hallway, through double doors marked emergency. Sarah was already there, her face streaked with tears. She grabbed James's hand and they followed the gurney until a nurse stopped them. "We need to work on her," the nurse said gently. "You can wait right here. Someone will update you every few minutes." The doors closed. James and Sarah stood in the empty hallway, holding each other, Sarah's whole body shook with sobs. James's eyes were dry, but his heart felt like it might explode. "She's alive," Sarah whispered. "The dispatcher said once they're alive, there's hope. She's alive." They waited. The minutes crawled by. James counted them. 5, 10, 15. Each one felt like an hour. Other families moved through the emergency room. A teenager with a broken arm, an elderly man clutching his chest, a woman holding a crying infant, life and death existing side by side in this fluorescent-lit limbo. 20 minutes. Still no word. Sarah paced the hallway, her arms wrapped around herself. "I should have been watching her. I should have been paying attention." "We both should have," James said. "But we can't think like that now." "How can I not think like that? Our baby was dying in the woods while we were wrapping Christmas presents." James pulled her into his arms. "She's not dying. She's fighting. And she's going to win because she's our daughter, and she's stronger than anything this world can throw at her." Sarah buried her face in his chest. Her tears soaked through his shirt. James held her, one hand stroking her hair, his eyes fixed on the double doors. 25 minutes. A nurse emerged, pulling off blue latex gloves. "Mr. and Mrs. Chen?" They both straightened. James felt Sarah's hand tighten in his. "Dr. Pierce will be out in a moment to speak with you. Your daughter is stable. That's what I wanted you to know first. She's stable." The relief was so intense, James thought he might collapse. Sarah made a sound that was half laugh, half sob. 3 more minutes passed. Then a doctor in blue scrubs emerged through the doors. She pulled down her mask and smiled. "Mr. and Mrs. Chen, your daughter's going to be fine." Sarah's knees buckled. James caught her, held her up. "We've raised her core temperature to 94 degrees, the doctor continued. "Still below normal, but out of the danger zone. She has mild frostbite on 3 fingers and 2 toes, but we caught it early enough that there won't be permanent damage. No signs of infection in her lungs. Her kidney function looks good. All things considered, she's incredibly lucky." "The dog," James said. "Search and rescue said a husky was with her." Dr. Pierce nodded. "The paramedics mentioned that. The thermal protection that dog provided likely extended her survival window by several hours. Without it, we'd be having a very different conversation right now." "Can we see her?" James asked. "Follow me." They walked through the double doors, past curtained treatment bays where other patients received care. Dr. Pierce led them to the last bay on the right and pulled back the curtain. Emma lay in a hospital bed that looked far too big for her small body. Heated blankets covered her from neck to toes. An oxygen tube ran beneath her nose. Wires connected her to monitors that beeped steadily, but her eyes were open and focused. "Mama!" Sarah rushed to the bed and gathered Emma into her arms, careful of the wires and tubes. "Oh, baby. My sweet baby." Emma looked at James over Sarah's shoulder. "Daddy, where's the doggy?" "He went back to the forest, sweetheart." Emma's face crumpled. "But I want to say thank you." The doctor cleared her throat. "If I may, the search and rescue team told me about the dog. They found where he'd been lying with your daughter. The body heat from a dog that size, with that thick coat, would have significantly slowed her heat loss. He might have added 2 or 3 hours to her survival window." "He saved her," Sarah said. "Yes," the doctor agreed. "He did." Dr. Pierce consulted her tablet. "We're going to keep Emma overnight for observation. Monitor her temperature, make sure there are no complications from the frostbite. But if everything continues progressing as it has been, you should be able to take her home tomorrow afternoon." "What about long-term effects?" James asked. "Will there be any permanent damage?" Children are remarkably resilient. The frostbite on her fingers and toes will heal completely within a few weeks. She might have some sensitivity to cold for a while, but that should fade. Psychologically, we'll want to watch for signs of trauma, but from what I've seen, Emma seems to have processed the experience remarkably well. She keeps talking about the nice doggy who kept her warm. Emma nodded against Sarah's shoulder. He was soft and warm. He let me hold him. James felt tears sting his eyes for the first time since finding Emma. Relief, gratitude, and love crashed over him in a wave so powerful he had to sit down in the chair beside the bed. "You're safe now, baby girl," he said. "You're safe." A nurse brought warm apple juice for Emma and coffee for James and Sarah. They sat with their daughter, watching her sip the juice through a straw, listening to her describe the dog in detail. How big he was, how blue his eyes were, how he'd laid down beside her and made her warm. "Can we keep him, Daddy?" Emma asked. "Please? He saved me. He should be our dog." James exchanged glances with Sarah. "Sweetheart, he lives in the forest. He's a wild dog." "But he's not wild. He's nice. He's the nicest dog ever." "We'll see," Sarah said. "Right now you need to rest." Emma's eyelids drooped. The combination of exhaustion, trauma, and the warming treatment was pulling her toward sleep. Within minutes, she was breathing deeply, her small hand clutching her mother's. A social worker stopped by an hour later. "Mr. and Mrs. Chen, I'm Catherine Wells. I just need to ask you a few questions about what happened tonight." James explained it all, Emma playing outside while they unpacked, the assumption that she was still within sight, the realization that she was missing, the frantic search. He could see Catherine taking notes, her expression neutral but assessing. "And you said a dog led you to her?" Catherine asked. "A Siberian Husky. It broke into our cabin and brought us Emma's Mitten. Then it led me right to where she was sheltering." "That's remarkable." Catherine closed her notebook. "I've reviewed the search and rescue report. Deputy Martinez spoke highly of your cooperation and quick thinking. There's no indication of neglect here. Just a very frightening accident. These things happen, especially in unfamiliar environments." The tension James hadn't realized he was carrying eased slightly. He'd been terrified that someone would accuse them of being bad parents, of not watching their daughter closely enough. "Thank you," he said. Catherine smiled. "Your daughter is very lucky, and you're very lucky that Husky was in the right place at the right time. Merry Christmas, Mr. and Mrs. Chen." "Merry Christmas," they echoed. The story might have ended there. A miracle on Christmas Eve, a close call that became a memory instead of a tragedy. But 3 days after Emma was released from the hospital, a phone call changed everything. James answered on the second ring. "Hello?" "Mr. Chen, this is Deputy Martinez with Flathead County Sheriff's Office. I was part of the search and rescue team that found your daughter." "I remember you. Thank you for everything you did." "That's actually why I'm calling. We've been monitoring trail cameras in the area where your daughter was found, trying to get a better count of the wolf population. We captured something we thought you'd want to see." James put the call on speaker so Sarah could hear. "We got clear footage of the Husky that helped your daughter," Deputy Martinez continued. "He's been living wild out there for at least 6 months. We've seen him on other cameras, too. Mr. Chen, that dog circles back to check the spot where he found Emma every single night." Sarah's hand flew to her mouth. "We've tried to catch him," the deputy said, "to bring him in so he can get proper food and shelter. But he's too smart. He runs before we can get close. I was wondering if you'd be willing to help us. Sometimes these dogs will respond to people they've bonded with." "When?" James asked. "Tonight, if you're available. We've got a humane trap set up near where Emma was found, baited with food. If he shows up and you're there, calling to him, he might trust you enough to approach." James looked at Sarah. She nodded. "We'll be there," James said. The forest was different at night, with Emma safe at Grandma's house. James could appreciate the stark beauty of the snow-covered trees, the way moonlight turned everything silver. He walked beside Deputy Martinez and another officer, their footsteps crunching on the frozen trail. The trap sat in a small clearing 30 yards from the Douglas fir where Emma had sheltered. It looked like a large kennel with the door propped open. A bowl of chicken sat just inside. "He's hit the trap 3 times, Deputy Martinez said quietly. "Taken the food but wouldn't go all the way in. Tonight we didn't rig the door. We're hoping if you call to him, he'll stay long enough for us to close it manually." They waited. James's breath clouded in the frozen air. An hour passed, then 2. James was about to suggest they give up when Deputy Martinez grabbed his arm and pointed. A gray shadow moved between the trees. The husky emerged into the clearing, its blue eyes scanning the area. It spotted the humans and froze. "Call to him," Deputy Martinez whispered. "Hey, boy," James said softly. "Remember me? You found my daughter, my Emma. You saved her." The husky's ears perked forward. "She's okay because of you. She wants to say thank you, but she can't do that if you keep running away." The dog took a tentative step forward. "That's it. Good boy. Nobody's going to hurt you. You're safe." The husky moved closer, its eyes locked on James. It stopped 10 feet away, just at the edge of the clearing. James knelt in the snow. "You protected my little girl when she needed you most. Let us help you now. Let us give you a home where you'll never be cold or hungry again, where you'll have a family." The husky tilted its head, considering. Then it walked forward, each step deliberate. It stopped directly in front of James and sat. James reached out, slowly. The husky's fur was thick and soft under his fingers. The dog leaned into his touch. "We're going to take care of you," James whispered. "I promise." Deputy Martinez moved with practiced stealth, approaching from the side. The husky noticed but didn't run. It stayed where it was, pressed against James's hand as the deputy slipped a slip lead over its head. "Got him," Martinez said. "Nice and easy, boy. Nobody's going to hurt you." The husky stood calmly, tail wagging once. 2 days later, James carried Emma through the door of the Flathead County Animal Shelter. She clutched her stuffed rabbit with one hand and her father's neck with the other. "Is he here, Daddy?" "He's here, baby." Deputy Martinez met them in the lobby. He's been the perfect guest. Vet gave him a clean bill of health. His shoulders healed up nicely from whatever old injury he had. He's about 4 years old. Microchip registered to a mushing company up in Alaska, but they said they don't want him back. He's all yours if you want him. Sarah came through the door behind them, carrying paperwork she'd printed from the car. Adoption forms. Already filled out. A volunteer led them back to the kennels. Most of the dogs barked and jumped at their gates, excited by visitors. But in the last kennel on the left, a gray and white husky lay quietly on a raised bed. When Emma appeared, its head lifted. Its tail began to wag. "Doggy!" Emma squealed. The volunteer opened the gate and the husky walked out, going directly to Emma. It sat in front of her and very gently licked her nose. Emma giggled and wrapped her arms around its neck. "We decided to name him Timber," Sarah said to Deputy Martinez. "If that's okay?" "I think he'll like that name just fine." James knelt beside his daughter and the dog that had saved her life. Timber pressed against them both, tail wagging steadily. "Thank you," James said again. "Thank you for bringing her back to us." Timber's blue eyes met his. For a moment, James could have sworn the dog understood every word. They signed the papers right there in the hallway. Timber walked between them to the car, as if he'd always belonged. Emma sat in her car seat with the dog's head resting on her lap for the entire drive home. Christmas morning came 2 days late, but nobody minded. Emma woke at 6 a.m. and ran to the living room, Timber following close behind. She stopped in the doorway and gasped. The Christmas tree glowed in the dim light. Presents wrapped in bright paper sat beneath it. But the biggest gift wasn't wrapped at all. A brand new dog bed sat beside the fireplace, complete with thick blankets and a food bowl with Timber's name engraved on the side. Emma's stocking hung on the mantel next to 3 others, one of which read Timber in glittery letters. "Santa came," Emma shouted, "and he brought stuff for Timber too." Timber sniffed the dog bed, circled it 3 times, and lay down with a contented sigh. James and Sarah came downstairs to find their daughter curled up in the dog bed with Timber, both of them already asleep again. James's phone sat on the coffee table where he'd left it. He picked it up and took a photo. The first family Christmas portrait. Later, after presents were opened and breakfast was eaten and Emma was teaching Timber to catch snowballs in the backyard, Sarah leaned against James on the couch. "Do you think he knew?" she asked. "That night in the forest. Do you think he knew we were Emma's family? That we would have done anything to find her?" James watched through the window as Timber ran beside Emma, matching his pace to her small stride. The dog's tail was high, his eyes bright. He looked like he was smiling. "I think he knew," James said. "I think he knew exactly what he was doing." That night, after Emma was tucked into bed with Timber lying on a rug beside her, James stood at the window looking out at the forest beyond their rental cabin. They'd extended their stay through New Year's. Emma wanted to show Timber where he'd found her, wanted to leave a gift for the other forest animals. The snow fell softly, covering everything in silence. James thought about all the things that had to go right for Emma to survive. The Husky finding her. The dog's decision to seek help instead of just staying with her. The broken window. The Mitten. Emma's small but sturdy body. The rescue team's quick response. All of it coming together in a sequence of impossible moments. But maybe it wasn't impossible. Maybe sometimes the world worked the way it was supposed to. Maybe sometimes help came from unexpected places. Maybe sometimes a dog with blue eyes and a survivor's instinct could look at a lost child and choose to become a hero. Sarah's arms wrapped around him from behind. "What are you thinking about?" "Miracles," James said. "I'm thinking about miracles." In the bedroom, Emma stirred and whispered something in her sleep. Timber's ears pricked forward. He stood, walked to the bed, and very gently placed his paw on the mattress beside her. Emma's hand found his fur and held on. The Husky settled back onto the rug, his eyes open and watchful, still protecting, still guarding, still doing what he'd been born to do. Outside, the snow continued to fall. Inside, a family slept peacefully, safe in the knowledge that their guardian was awake, that he would always be awake, that he would always watch over the small human who had trusted him in the darkest moment of her life. And in the morning, when Emma woke and wrapped her arms around Timber's neck, when she whispered thank you into his soft fur, the dog's tail would wag. Because he understood. He had always understood. Some bonds are forged in fire, some in blood, and some are forged in snow and darkness and fear transformed into hope. The kind of hope that only comes when the impossible becomes possible. When a stray dog becomes a hero. When a lost child finds her way home. That was the gift Timber gave them. Not just Emma's life, though that would have been enough, but the reminder that in a world that often felt cold and dangerous and unpredictable, there was still good. There was still courage. There was still love. And sometimes, love wore fur and had blue eyes that glowed like glacier water in the darkness. Merry Christmas, indeed.